Hello and welcome to The Window. Ben Jacobs with you live from a slightly windy Seattle. It is the 4th of July. We're off to see some fireworks a little bit later, and I've got a surprise in store for you as well because I've got a special July the 4th outfit. But our focus here is transfers. US men's national team about to train behind me. They face Belgium in the round of 16 in the World Cup. The big breaking news from this morning is that Leandro Trossard is set to join Besiktas in Turkey. There is a fee that has been agreed between the two clubs. It's 80 million euros and 2 million in add-ons, but Besiktas still have to agree personal terms with Trossard, and they will send a delegation right here to America in Seattle to try and finalise this one, although Trossard might wait until after the World Cup to make a final determination. But there is an agreement in principle between Arsenal and Besiktas. Now, there were some reports that Al Diriyah in Saudi Arabia, who have Dougie Freeman ex-Crystal Palace as their sporting director, were in the mix here. That's not my understanding. They appreciate the player, but they never made an offer, and Besiktas hold optimism that they can get this one over the line. Turkish clubs generally are very active at the moment because Nathan Ake has left Manchester City and joined Fenerbahce. The fee there is £7 million and 1.5 million in add-ons. Fener had announced yesterday that this one was basically a done deal on the player side, but it needed another 24 hours to finalise it with Manchester City, and that one is now a done deal as well. I just want to give you a word on Sandro Tonali as well, because a lot of people are asking why hasn't it been announced. Don't worry, it's just about formalities and the clubs getting on the same page as to when they want to make it clear that Tonali has joined Tottenham Hotspur on a deal worth £100 million. 92.5 million of that fee is guaranteed to Newcastle United, but it's a done deal. He has passed the medical and it is pending only the official announcement. Who knows, it might even come by the time you watch this, but that deal is 100% done, and Tottenham are going to be active in the market over the coming weeks. They still want a starting left winger or attacker. There's been links in the last few days with Cody Gakpo. He is a name on Tottenham's list. Let's see how that develops. Liverpool don't really have a desire to sell, and if anyone wants to do business with Liverpool, they're going to be pointing, for example, to Anthony Gordon, £70 million move from Newcastle United to Barcelona. The market is inflated, and Liverpool have a very high asking price for Cody Gakpo. The player also, despite reports in the Netherlands, hasn't at the time of recording told Liverpool that he wants to leave. But Spurs might be one to watch, and also don't forget Savinho, because Spurs would still like to get that one done, and they have been in on-off talks with Manchester City throughout the summer. Speaking of Manchester City, Jeremy Monga is going to join. This was a story that we reported on talkSPORT a few days ago. Agreement in principle between the clubs for £10 million and 2.5 million in add-ons. There were some suggestions. Happy 4th of July, says Maurizio Pochettino live with us. You're going to beat Belgium?
Sorry?
You're going to beat Belgium?
Oh, now we need to practice for that.
Happy 4th of July, Maurizio. There we go. A little meet and greet with the US men's national team manager. He threw a magnificent pitch yesterday, by the way, at the baseball game between the Seattle Sounders and the Toronto Blue Jays. And I'm told as well that there's a little friends and family function for the US men's national team to celebrate the 4th of July. But back to Jeremy Monga. That was a nice little interjection, wasn't it? So Monga is going to be joining Manchester City. £10 million, 2.5 million in add-ons. Leicester were always pushing for a fee of in excess of £10 million, and City were able to move very fast. Why? Because Enzo Maresca, new manager, coming into the squad, and he knows Monga very well from his time at Leicester City. So the new Manchester City manager able to drive that one and get it over the line, even though there was firm competition from Arsenal. Arsenal's last offer, according to my information, was only about 6.5 million. So Manchester City, in terms of the total package, have essentially doubled what Arsenal were prepared to pay. But they were pushing hard and also in advanced talks on the player side. But a few days ago, Arsenal withdrew, and Manchester City are going to get the young teenage Leicester City winger Jeremy Monga, and that is a fantastic signing. And again, Enzo Maresca knows him very well indeed. So City still active in the market, and they will assess another midfielder even after the arrival of Elliot Anderson for £160 million. City like Alex Scott, and they have made an initial approach to Bournemouth, as have Manchester United and Arsenal. So these are three clubs to watch. I'd be surprised if Tottenham enter the race now, simply because because they've got both Sandro Tonali through the door for £100 million and Mateus Fernandes for 85 fixed fee. But Tottenham had looked prior to securing both of those deals. But the three clubs that I mentioned have all gone to Bournemouth. Now, my information from Bournemouth sources is as follows. Firstly, they want Scott to stay. No surprise there whatsoever. Second of all, since March, there have been talks about Scott signing a new deal at Bournemouth, and they will resume now this summer. And Bournemouth are prepared to offer Scott a deal with a release clause for 2027. If he rejects, Bournemouth are also very comfortable, even though his value would depreciate, in just keeping him for another season on the existing terms. So Bournemouth are telling all suitors that Scott is not for sale. My understanding from the interested clubs is they think the door might still be open, and Bournemouth value Scott at the moment at around £80 million. So keep an eye on Manchester United, because Scott is very high in their thinking, and Arsenal and Manchester City as well. We'll hear a lot of links with Liverpool too, because Andoni Iraola has joined and naturally knows Scott really well. And Liverpool could also add a central midfielder. So let's see what direction of travel they choose to go in. But Man City, Man United and Arsenal have all already made direct approaches to Bournemouth for Alex Scott to understand the situation, and Bournemouth's response has been that Alex Scott is not for sale. So the market continues to hot up, and no doubt we're also going to see a little bit of movement from outside of England too. And just finally, I want to touch upon Yan Diomande and Magnus Akliouche. With Magnus Akliouche, advanced talks are underway and the player is keen on the move, and PSG want to do that deal and Yan Diomande. So these are not separate cases, these are two transfers that PSG would hope to pull off. With Yan Diomande, negotiations are being led by Nasser Al Khalifi. The player has already communicated that he wants to join and has agreed terms on a 5-year contract, and Leipzig have said publicly the asking price is 130 million euros and that they don't wish to sell. But what I can tell you is PSG are making progress. They have already had verbal discussions over a total package of roughly 100 million euros, and there is optimism within PSG that they can get the Leipzig asking price down. And PSG sources believe that come the end of the window, Yan Diomande will have joined the French champions. And all of that means that the Bradley Barcola situation is still open. And I stand by information that I reported last month. If PSG add one or two wide attackers or wingers, the door becomes open for Bradley Barcola to leave. And Barcola and PSG are at an impasse with contract extension talks. So the combination of PSG not being able to extend Bradley Barcola and adding one or two attackers could mean that Barcola asks to leave. And at the right number, PSG might be prepared to sell, even though their starting point for much of the summer has been they would rather keep the player. But they want to either keep him on a new contract or they want to keep him if they can't add other players in wide areas, whether on the left or on the right, because people like Yan Diomande are very versatile. So that's the situation with PSG. And Liverpool and Arsenal are the two clubs to watch. Arsenal want Morgan Rogers, but Bradley Barcola is also on their list, and Liverpool and Bradley Barcola could be a developing story as well. He is high in their thinking as Liverpool look to add another attacker in addition to Victor Munoz. So lots happening, lots of dominoes that need to fall, and along with the transfers, Maurizio Pochettino, who made a little cameo just a moment ago on the window, an exclusive first, a manager coming on the window. And we will be following Pochettino and the US men's national team over the course of the next 2 days, because they are building up on the 6th of July to that huge round of 16 game against Belgium. And we will have full match commentary of that on talkSPORT. Thanks for joining me on the window. All the latest transfer news available on our rolling blog, talksport.com, plus on air. And stay tuned to our YouTube as well for all of the latest transfer news. But for now, from myself, Ben Jacobs, right here in Seattle, thanks for watching.